quality of life difference between now and what it was, I don't know, a year or two or whenever you started this journey, after the accident, obviously is better. Now, if I told you that, hey, that's great, you're doing great, but you've increased your risk for heart disease by 10 or 20%, what would you say? Would you say, I don't care, it's not worth it to me to change? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, probably what I would really say in real life if I saw you face to face would be not appropriate for this podcast. But I don't care, I guess, would be the bottom line.
Right. Quality of life is better, clearly.
Yeah. I'd rather feel like this than 50 more years of being miserable like I was. That's not a way to live.
Yeah, that's a common theme. And I'm not even, like I said, again, the jury is still out on whether or not you're increasing or decreasing your risk of heart disease. I just don't think we know yet. And I think there's good evidence. I guess you're worried about one risk factor. This is this LDL cholesterol, this ApoB, but then what are the other risk factors for heart disease that have improved for you? And obviously losing weight, obesity is a big one. I don't know what else was going on, but we know metabolic syndrome. We know that hypertension. We know that, diabetes for sure. These things are huge markers of, or risk factors that have, depending on which study you read, a much greater impact than does even your triglyceride levels may have more of an impact than your LDL levels. So it's an interesting discussion. And I think it's one that most physicians are incapable of that nuance, or they tend to disregard, they'll put down, offered statin, patient refused, patient noncompliance, and that's what goes into the chart when the real thing should be, after a thorough discussion of the patient risk and benefits, the patient felt the risks outweighed the benefits. And that's a more, I think a more accurate or should be a more ethical thing to do, but we don't often see that, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. Have you been able to, influence anybody in around, like any of your coworkers? Because like I said, you said, hey, I'm saving money by not screwing up and making mistakes, so my cognition is enhanced. Now you've got employees, and we're all prone to error and mistakes, and they're probably. Have you been able to influence any of your employees? Say, hey, look, this diet will help the company in general. Has that been part of the discussion you thought, or anything you're calculating that?
Well, I don't know if you've probably been on a couple job sites in your lifetime, but guys out there, running jackhammers and stuff, we're really not talking about, lipid panels, stuff like that.
Yeah, but they'll talk about hamburger patties, right?
Yeah. So no, but directly, I have a podcast. Hence I have the equipment, but I've been able to touch some people. Now I haven't come out of the closet on my podcast as carnivore. I've hinted at it. I've had Dr. Ash Zarian, who you've had on the show. We did a podcast several months ago when I first came to the community. I'm going to do a pre-podcast talking about, something to the effect of kicking the tires on carnivore. And then I'm going to play the Dr. Ash version episode after that. So I've got that, but I have affected a couple people, affected. I don't know how you say that, but a friend of mine in Portland, Oregon, shout out to her. But she is just globbed onto this and is changing her world. So we have that community within us, and I've really connected with a lot of people in the Revero community. So I'm very, very, very thankful. So yeah, I think this will have the butterfly ripple effect in the end game.
Yeah, it's kind of fun because we have a lot of different people like doing construction projects around the house, home improvement, and the contractor's there, and I'm at home cooking a steak, and I'm like, hey, dude, I'll cook him a steak. I said, hey, man, why don't you give me a steak with me? Take a break, and I'll force my ideology. Just talk about it, because I just feel like gosh, this is something that more people should know about. And the nice things for me, I'm a fit guy that people look at and they're like, wow, you're really in shape, and what are you doing? And so then I have that opportunity to do it. And here, let's sit down and have a steak. We'll talk about it. And, most people, like I said, most men, in particular, it's not hard to get them to eat a steak, or eat a hamburger patty or something like that. So
yeah,
you get that, and you get some people that are pretty, but I'm just wondering, like I said, if you had a company that the company policy, and again, you can't enforce this stuff, but the company philosophy was, hey, let's eat some more steak and let's be more productive, and how that would go. And you do an experiment and see what happens with the finances and the overall, whatever. It'd be an interesting, fun thing to do, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
What have you had any downsides? Because people ask about downsides. Any negativities? Some sleeplessness, constipation. I don't know. Any negatives thus far?
Hey, it's so inconsequential when you look at the overall gains and benefits. But I had the loose stool. I battled that a little bit, but like I said, I received the gift of desperation, where a little loose stool for me was not a big deal, and something that if the side effects are. Yeah, the side effects of carnivore. Here are the side effects of carnivore for me, and I'll just summarize it. I am no longer homicidal or suicidal. I perform better at work. I'm a nicer guy. I can show up for people in their lives. Another person that's he was already leaning this way, but he started talking to me, was my brother. My brother is a team driver. They're long haul truckers, and thank God that we have long haul truckers to provide all the goods and services we have in the country. But he just texted me this morning how he cooked up this much of this and that much that are going on their next trip. It's all meat. And so, yeah, I've got family that's, kind of getting on board, and he was already halfway there, but, yeah, I don't even remember what your original question was. I'm just going off on my.
Well, just if there's been any negativity, any negative side effects.
No. And like I said, I have a personality defect. I like kind of like sticking a knife sometimes. And that's what brought me to you, because I turned on to you when you made some video about something. It was during the pandemic or whatever that was. And you were kind of like anti-establishment and anti, Western medicine, and yeah, asterisk, we understand that we need doctors and emergency medicine, et cetera. So don't peg me on that. But, how we think about antidepressants and benzodiazepines and all these things, not just our physical structure, diabetes, but the antidepressant market in 2019, don't quote me on this, was I think a 12 or $14 billion industry. And by 2027, by some websites that you look at, it's going to be a $22 billion industry in pharmaceuticals. And we can go off on a tangent. I know we're running short of time, but how the DSM was written and all these mental health things that I touch upon on my podcast, like it's all integrated. And anytime I can be a little bit anti-establishment, I'm all for it. And that's what I appreciate about you, Dr. Baker, is you putting your neck out there and you're just doing it. So I'm really humbled to be on your podcast.